for my next presentation, so kanina we answered the whats and the whys. Ngayon, to understand the UHI phenomenon, now we will answer questions such as, we will answer the hows and the what ifs. So sa presentation na to, we will focus on UHI mitigation strategies for a cooler environment. Marami nang pinakita si Sir Peñalosa kanina na mitigation strategies, pero we will also tatry na lang natin na dagdagan. So recap tayo sa causes ng UHI. We have low vegetation cover, thermal properties of built-up, urban form and geometry, and anthropogenic sources. So para ma-mitigate natin yung urban heat islands, we need to address each of these 4 causes. So how can we mitigate UHI? So we have listed 6 UHI mitigation strategies. The first one is pinaka-common, green spaces. Green spaces can be either mga green parks, mga rows of trees planted along the streets, or even sa bahay natin, mga gardens. So, paano ba nakakapag-cool ng temperature ng environment ang green spaces? It can cool the environment in 2 ways. First is through shading, and second is through evapotranspiration. So, na-mention ni Sir kanina yung ilan sa mga green spaces sa Iloilo City. So, sa CALLE Real, we have identified yung 2. First is yung Sunburst Park. And second is sa Plaza Libertad. Okay. So para mapakita namin yung cooling effect ng green parks along CALLE Real, we did an air temperature simulation. So as you can see on the right, ito yung results ng cooling effect simulation sa CALLE Real. Yung darker blue na areas, yun yung areas na may stronger cooling effect. So as you can see, nag-increase yung cooling effect from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Then nagdi-decrease siya until 9 p.m. Nakikita rin natin na so yung maximum value ng cooling effect niya is 0.97 degrees Celsius, almost 1 degree Celsius. Meaning kapag yung presence ng urban parks na yun ay nakakapagbawas ng up to 1 degree Celsius sa air temperature. Also, it is evident na yung cooling effect ng trees sa parks ay hindi lang sa parks ma-experience, pati sa adjacent road. So, tingnan uli natin. So, ayan, may effect siya kahit dun sa adjacent road and sa nearby buildings. So, how can we improve this? So, okay na so may cooling effect na yung green parks, pero yung ibang portion, like yung sa portion ng road na to, paano natin pa may improve yung cooling sa portion ng streets na to sa CALLE Real? So, we have our first what if scenario. What if we add trees along the center of CALLE Real? So, ito yung proposed scenario namin. So, what we did was, we planted trees along the center of the road na may height na 10 meters, canopy diameter na 8 meters, and tree spacing na 8 meters. And we ensured na yung canopy niya ay covered lahat ng nasa ilalim, meaning walang patlang yung canopy. So ito yung result ng cooling effect ng proposed scenario. So as you can see, may cooling effect. Yung cooling effect, same yung trend na pina-follow niya, nag-increase siya until 12 noon. And mas strong yung cooling effect dun pa rin sa portion ng road na adjacent sa green parks. However, unlike nung kanina sa green parks, 0.2 degrees Celsius lang yung cooling effect na naitulong niya. So medyo malayo compared dun sa almost 1 degree ng urban parks. Pero na-mention ko nga kanina na yung trees can cool either through shading and evapotranspiration. So tingnan natin yung effect ng trees na yun sa shading. So here is the simulation naman ng mean radiant temperature. So if as you can see along Calle Real, evident especially dun from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., yung times na may init or matindi yung sikat ng araw, evident na nag-lower yung temperature dun sa areas na nilagyan natin ng trees compared dito sa current scenario. And if we take a look take a closer look dun sa portion ng trees. So ayan, so dun sa area na walang trees, ang mean radiant temperature niya can reach up to 61.6 degrees Celsius, while dito sa shade under ng trees ay 56.1 degrees Celsius. So yung yung proposed na trees na tinanim natin can reduce the mean radiant temperature by up to 5.5 degrees Celsius. So yung next UHI mitigation strategy na pwede natin gawin ay blue spaces. Blue spaces or water spaces. It can either be yung natural water bodies natin such as rivers, lakes, or artificial or man-made blue spaces such as swimming pools or fountains. Unlike trees na may shading, ang cooling effect ng blue spaces ay naggagaling mainly sa evaporation ng water. Pero compared sa evapotranspiration ng trees, mas stronger yung evaporation ng blue spaces. So ang tiningnan namin na blue space sa Iloilo ay ang Iloilo River. So here are some photos sa Iloilo River Esplanade. So yung focus namin ay Esplanade 1 and 2 lang, pero kagaya nung pinakita ni Sir Peñalosa kanina, meron tayong more segments pa. I think up to Esplanade 9 yung nakita ko sa figure kanina. So aside dun sa river, meron tayong mangrove trees dun sa river banks and may planted din na trees dun sa mismong walkway or dun sa mismong park. So we did several studies dito. First is tinignan namin yung cooling effect ng Iloilo River and yung adjacent wetlands. We used satellite images from 1994, 1998, 2003, 2005, 2013, 2016, and 2019. And ang findings namin, first, the cooling effect of Iloilo River decreases with increasing distance from the edge of the water body and the edge of the wetlands. And nagva-vary yung strength ng cooling and extent ng cooling effect niya depende sa kung ano yung position ng area mo relative doon sa river. Kung nasa north ba siya, nasa south, nasa west, nasa east. Also, nagba-vary din siya depende sa land cover characteristics. So yung cooling effect covers longer distances in agricultural areas and zones with high vegetation cover, while higher temperature differences and cooling intensity can be experienced in zones with high built-up density. Now, bakit mas mataas yung cooling intensity sa areas na may high built-up density? So, imagine natin ng isang mainit na room. So, para mapalamig mo yung room na yun, di ba, usually kukuha ka ng maraming electric fans or magbukas ka ng maraming air conditioning units para mapalamig mo siya. So, medyo same concept, kaya stronger yung cooling intensity sa built-up areas. So with the help of CPDO, we also did a validation survey through mobile air temperature survey. So naggawa kami ng 10 transects from the edge of the river, then palayo. So note of use sa ibang transects na may cooling effect siya dahil malamig siya from the edge, then umiinit siya as you go further away from the edge. But sa ibang areas like dito or dito, hindi siya naging visible Primarily dahil sa anthropogenic impacts or sa effects ng, let's say, may ibang vehicles na possibly nakapag-add ng heat na dun sa nire-record ng sensors namin. Another study that we did related to water spaces ay cooling effect simulation using ENVIMET nga. Tulad nung pinakita ko kanina sa Sunburst Park and Plaza Libertad. So dito, nag-increase yung cooling effect from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a maximum value of 2.68 degrees Celsius, which is a lot higher than the urban parks na 1 degree Celsius. Also, noticeable din yung nagdi-decrease siya as you move further away from the edge of the river. And mas strong yung cooling effect sa southern part or sa Esplanade 2 kesa sa northern part. Why? Because yung wind direction during the day of the simulation, which is March 9, 2020, ay from northwest to southeast. So it is expected na kapag yung wind direction mo is na iba, let's say papuntang north na yung wind mo, mas strong naman yung cooling effect niya sa along Esplanade 1. So okay na tayo sa cooling effect ng water sa Esplanade. Let's check naman yung shading. Maraming trees kaming natag along Esplanade. However, ang problem is most of them are mangroves. Kaya so nasa riverbank siya, kaya wala siya masyadong shade na na-provide para dun sa nasa Esplanade. Well, may some din na may mga nakatanim na din na trees and other vegetation sa Esplanade. Pero I think yung iba maliliit pa. So we need more trees para makapag-provide ng adequate shading. So our next what if scenario is what if we plant a different type of tree? So ang ginawa namin is trinay namin na yung current scenario na palm trees and proposed scenario na same nung trees na plinant namin sa first scenario sa CALLE Real. Disclaimer lang po na hindi namin sinasuggest na palitan talaga yung palm trees with these type of trees. Parang papakita lang namin na mas malaki yung shading na napoprovide kapag gumamit ka ng trees na may larger canopy diameter. So here's the result. So as you can see, mas malaki yung shading na na-cover nung trees na may malaking canopy diameter. So if you compare at 3 p.m., yung trees na yung proposed trees ay 790 square meters yung na-cover na shade, while yung current na palm trees ay 550 square meters. So again, hindi namin sinasuggest na alisin yung existing palm trees, pero in case magpa-plant tayo ng additional trees sa Esplanade 1 and 2 and sa currently na dinadevelop na Esplanades na other segments ng Esplanade, we suggest using trees nga with greater canopy diameter, height, and leaf area density. So yung third UHI mitigation measure ay green buildings. Green buildings are buildings na incorporated ng vegetation. It can either be green roof, green walls, or combination. Though bihira makita ng green buildings talaga na entire wall and roof ay covered with vegetation, at least sa Philippines. Aside from cooling the surface and air temperature, it has also several benefits like cleaning the air, producing food to support urban wildlife, and reducing stormwater runoff. So sa Iloilo City po, wala kaming kinonduct na study regarding cooling effect ng green buildings. Pero papakita ko lang as a teaser yung study na ginawa sa Quezon City. So they selected some of the buildings and kinonvert nila to green buildings. And the results show na the green building scenario was able to decrease the air temperature by up to 1.65 degrees Celsius sa height of 1.8 meters from the ground or yung height na pinaka na-experience ng tao na air temperature, na average na tao na air temperature. So, and for more information pala about this study, we invite you to attend the Quezon City webinar on July 30, 2020, 1:30 p.m. din po. So, the next two mitigation strategies are cool buildings and cool pavements. Pagsasabayin ko na po. So, by cool buildings, we don't mean na itong nasa top figure. Ang ibig sabihin namin na cool buildings ay yung nasa bottom figure. Anong meron sa kanya? Ang cool buildings ay buildings na ika-characterize or binubuo ng materials na may highly reflective or may malaking percentage ng incoming solar radiation ay nire-reflect niya. So in this figure, itong portion ng building na hindi coated ng white paint or white coating, mas nag-absorb siya ng heat, while itong portion ng building na may white coating, mas nakapag-reflect siya ng solar radiation. Same with cool pavements. Dark pavements can reflect only up to 10% ng incoming solar radiation, while cool pavements can reflect up to 40% of incoming radiation or incoming sunlight. Now, how can we create cool buildings? Yung pinaka madali ay by using light-colored materials. So, if we compare itong gray paint, yung surface temperature profile ng gray painted concrete and cream painted concrete, we can see that gray walls can be warmer by up to 2 degrees Celsius than cream walls. So, mas lower yung cream wall by 2 degrees Celsius. If we use mas light na colors like white paint, white coating, it is expected na mas malamig pa yung ma-achieve nating surface temperature. Also, we can use, meron din tayong mga cooling materials. So, for wall materials, let's compare ceramic tile, concrete, and wood. So, our observation is ceramic tile can be cooler than wood by up to 9 degrees Celsius and can be cooler than concrete by up to 6 degrees Celsius. Same with sa roofing materials. If we compare the metal roof, PVC, and clay tile can be lower by up to 9 degrees Celsius than galvanized iron and up to 11 degrees Celsius than PVC. Dahil most of the, well, not all, pero most of the tiles ay may mataas na, mas malalaking percentage ng incoming solar radiation na nare-reflect niya. Mas highly reflective siya compared sa other materials. Well, marami pa kaming tiningnan na materials. So if you want to know more about the thermal properties of other materials, such as if we compare different tiles or different thickness ng wood or if we compare yung painted na galvanized iron versus hindi, I think i-present din siya sa Quezon City webinar on July 30. So, attend din po kayo doon. So, yung last mitigation strategy is built-up expansion regulation. So, kanina nakita natin na may effect ng shading yung buildings. So, does that mean na buildings can be used in UHI mitigation? So, our last what-if scenario is, what if we convert an abandoned fish pond to a built-up area? So, here is an abandoned fish. So, here is a scenario. Here's our scenario. So, we converted this portion to a built-up area consisting of several buildings na iba-ibang heights. And ito yung result. So at 9 a.m., kita natin na mas lumamig yung areas na tinayuan natin ng buildings. Then at 3 p.m., ganun pa rin, mas malamig din yung area na to kaysa dito sa bare lang. But at 9 p.m., mas uminit na yung areas na kinonvert natin to built up lumamig naman yung while lumamig na yung portion na not developed. So, yun, ay, hindi na mahirapan naman tayo if I guess mahirap i-control din yung built up expansion. So, ayan. So, in case na magde-develop tayo, well, makakapag-provide naman siya ng shading during daytime, but as a warning, it can also result to warmer nights. In addition, in case hindi natin makontrol talaga yung built-up expansion dahil nga we need to cater to the increasing population, so we can implement combinations of mitigation measures sa ating urban design. So for example, sa areas with small buildings and wide streets, we can plant trees that can shade the buildings and the roads from the incoming solar radiation. For areas naman with tall buildings and narrow streets, we can instead implement green buildings, lalo na if hindi possible or hindi feasible na mag-plant ng trees along the road. Along the streets. So, in summary, ito po yung mga recommendations ng Project GUHeat. So, disclaimer, we acknowledge na urban planning is should be multidisciplinary. So, ito lang po yung recommendations namin sa side namin na to lower the temperature in urban areas. So here are, we categorize our recommendations into 3. On planning and monitoring, we suggest utilizing LST maps to determine UHI hotspots and cold spots and consider these areas in city planning before introducing new developments or before introducing UHI mitigation measures. Also, we recommend incorporating extreme heat in the climate and disaster risk assessment of the city if hindi pa siya if hindi pa siya na-incorporate, since sa ibang countries nang nag-research kami, kasali na yung heat sa kino-consider in climate and disaster risk assessment. Third is to prioritize not only UHI hotspots but also areas with high heat-related risk in implementing UHI mitigation measures. Because some barangays, some barangays are not high surface temperatures or air temperatures, pero majority ng population niya ay vulnerable dahil maraming aged above 65 or malaking percentage na may pre-existing conditions. So we need to take that also into consideration. Fourth, we suggest installing air temperature sensors at different locations in Iloilo City to monitor any temperature variations. In case yung may area tayo na gusto nating i-observe kung mag-i-increase ba yung temperature niya once nagtayo tayo ng building, or magdi-decrease ba yung temperature niya once i-implement natin yung isang greening program dito sa area na to. Fifth is to consider using EnviMet, which will be further discussed sa fourth presentation, pero ginamit ko kanina sa simulation ng cooling effect as an environmental impact assessment tool to simulate possible effects of future development projects on the urban microclimate. Kagandahan sa kanya is, before mo ma-conduct yung isang project, pwede kang mag-create ng simulations, ng scenarios. So pwede kang mag-conduct ng scenario na magtatayo ka ng subdivision and makikita mo kung ano yung possible effects niya sa air temperature, sa mean region temperature, sa thermal comfort, etc. On building regulations naman po, well, first, we recommend regulating the conversion of green and open spaces to built-up areas. Second is we recommend avoiding developing urban canyons or those areas with tall buildings pero narrow streets, dahil nga natatrap yung heat during nighttime. And for areas with small buildings and wide streets, we suggest planting trees with large canopy diameter in rows and with equal spacing, since ito yung more efficient mitigation option. Then for areas naman with tall buildings and narrow streets, we suggest implementing green buildings. We also recommend using cool wall, roof, and pavement materials para sa mga bagong gagawing buildings, and para naman sa existing structures na, we recommend applying light colored paint or coating, reflective coating. Lastly, for greening projects, we suggest na consider constructing artificial water spaces or equipment such as fountains and sprinklers, because malaki nga yung evaporative cooling effect. For improving naman the thermal comfort along Iloilo River Esplanade, we suggest planting trees that provide greater shade. We are not particular on the species to use, but we prefer na to use trees with higher or larger canopy diameter, leaf area density, and height. Lastly, to maximize area utilization and cooling effect of urban parks, we suggest considering combining both trees and water spaces in one area, since yun, lalo na sa areas with high built-up density na limited na yung space na pwede natin gamitin for green parks, suggest na i-combine na lang yung green space and blue spaces. Since nung sa cooling effect simulation nga po ng river plus mangroves and trees, nakita naman natin na mataas yung naging cooling combination ng cooling effect nila. So that's it of my presentation. We would like to acknowledge the help of and assistance of University of the Philippines Visayas and the Iloilo City Government sa pagtulong po sa mga fieldworks and sa fieldworks and sa assistance sa iba pa naming needs sa aming research. So we would like to thank sa UP Visayas, sa aming sa project staff, si Sir Alan Dino Moscoso, and sa previous RAs namin, si Engineer Angelo K. Banyo and Sir Julius Jason Garcia, and sa Iloilo City Government, kay Mayor Janet Ranyas, and kay previous Mayor Espinosa, and sa City Planning and Development Office, and sa City Environment and Natural Resources Office. So that's the end of my third presentation. Again, thank you very much po.